Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Today, I am once again with Suzuki's 1981 GS1100E, or GSX as it's called in Europe. When I initially picked this bike up, I noticed that it was having some charging issues, and that's a very typical problem on the GS1100 Suzukis. Really doesn't matter what model of them. After going on an extended test drive recently and warming the bike up fully to temperature, I came back to the house here and I checked the charging system, and lo and behold, it was not charging up to the correct voltage. So I went ahead and I ordered a RIX regulator rectifier for this bike, and I have installed that. After installing that, I went on another extended test drive, only to find out that that did not cure the problem. So yesterday I ordered a new stator assembly from RIX Electrics, and I also ordered the gasket that goes behind this cover, and so we will pull that off soon and put the new stator in once that arrives. Another issue I had initially with this bike was the front brake rotors and pads were contaminated with a greasy substance, and I pulled everything apart and I cleaned it very thoroughly and I put it back together, but I've noticed that more of that greasy substance has coated the disc brakes again. So I'm going to have to pull the pads out again and re-clean those, and I'll also thoroughly clean all the little holes in the brake rotors. I think I have some greasy material still left in all of those little holes. So I'm going to do a more thorough cleaning and put everything back together, and once that is fully cleaned, I should get much better stopping power from my front brakes. I have received a new valve cover gasket in the mail for this bike. So I will pull my valve cover off and I will check all of my valve clearances while I'm in there replacing the valve cover gasket. And the reason I'm replacing that is it was leaking pretty profusely at the front of the engine at the valve cover gasket. So we'll get that leak taken care of. That's the only real leak on the bike. I have several more items to go through on the service list for this bike. I need to service and clean the chain. I need to replace the brake fluid in the rear braking system. I also, after I check the valve clearances, I will go ahead and do an oil and filter change on this bike, and I'll probably go ahead and replace the fork oil in this bike as well. The good news is that this bike is already running and driving very nicely. It shifts nicely, it pulls up through the gears very nicely. Once I replace the fork oil in the bike, I will go ahead and tune the stock suspension. This bike actually had very good suspension in stock form from the factory, and with only 9,000 miles on this bike, it does seem to handle well already. Alright, I'll keep you guys informed on the progress that I make on this bike as I go through it and I restore it back to its former glory. I always like to get these bikes mechanically sorted first, and then I address the cosmetic issues later on. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, enjoy the ride.